Up next this morning on U.S. Bank Business Watch, presented by the Business Courier, a look back at the top stories of 2013 and what to watch in 2014. Some big changes coming to the UC Neuroscience Institute that could put Cincinnati on the cutting edge of stroke research. And the soda war battle for the big boy is on. U.S. Bank Business Watch is next. Good morning. Welcome to U.S. Bank Business Watch. I'm Brian Patrick. Happy New Year. On the Business Courier front page centerpiece this week, we're just 5 days into 2014, so we can't help but look back on the year that was. 2013 was not lacking for big stories. The Business Courier published thousands of stories last year, with some very obvious big ones that will continue to make headlines in 2014. Here are 5 of the biggest that captured our attention and will continue to dominate in the year ahead. dunnhumby USA broke ground at 5th and Race Streets in downtown Cincinnati. Hundreds of shivering people gathered to watch the groundbreaking for that $122 million project.
Try find a spot like this anywhere in America in a big city. You're not going to find it. We're unbelievably lucky to have this spot downtown in the heart of an incredibly fast-growing city now.
The building's asymmetrical design is going to alter Cincinnati's skyline when it opens January 2015. It will also include 27,000 square feet of commercial space. Not to be outdone by the city, a major project in the burbs got a new name and design. Phillips, Edison and Company decided to make a statement with its plans for the former Kenwood Town Place in Sycamore Township. It's been recast as a premier shopping destination and entice Saks Fifth Avenue to move from downtown.
They're committing, to do an 80,000 square foot full line department store here. That's not an Fifth, that's not an outlet store, that's a full line department store, which is a significant investment on their part. So convincing them that Cincinnati had enough of a population that we could draw from enough of an area and they had a population that could appreciate and would shop at the level of department store that Saks draws from.
Now named Kenwood Collection, the owners have also secured Nice Lukens as a major office tenant. And the Horseshoe Casino Cincinnati opened in March, but its impact began well before that. The $400 million project awarded 75% of initial contracts to Cincinnati and Ohio-based firms.
I think the thing that makes it unique from your typical regional casino destination is that it is so open, and the glass entrance, the outward-facing restaurants. I mean, we really took this casino concept and turned it inside out.
Revenue has regularly topped other Ohio casinos since it opened, and it typically ranks first or second in monthly revenue reports from the Ohio Casino Control Commission. Our region's airport did something it hasn't done in decades. It attracted a low-cost carrier. Frontier Airlines arrived in May with a single flight to Denver.
This is the first low-cost carrier operating out of CVG in 15 years, so it's a huge get.
Any other city, one new flight by one new airline wouldn't be a big deal, but Delta and its hub have so dominated CVG that Frontier's success was big news for the business and leisure traveler. Allegiant Airlines is set to follow Frontier into the market next month with flights to Orlando and Fort Myers, Florida. And some of the most important changes last year occurred at the top of local health systems and hospitals. UC Health, University of Cincinnati Medical Center, Mercy Health, and the Christ Hospital Health Network all got new leaders. And that rundown does not include leadership changes at Procter & Gamble and Kroger, the Glenn Guillermo Ponzi scheme story, or additional big changes with the city, including the squashing of the parking lease deal, the streetcar fight, and our new mayor. Be sure to pick up a hard copy of the Business Courier this week to see all the top stories of 2013. Well, Dr. Joseph Broderick is the new overall director of the University of Cincinnati's Neuroscience Institute. He took over the role on January 1st after nearly 7 years as research director. The Neuroscience Institute focuses on the care of patients with neurologic and psychiatric disorders, as well as research on the diseases.
While we have our costs as well, we also invest some of the monies we generate back into our research and educational missions, which is really something very unique and very different, because research in general doesn't make money, nor does education, but they're such an important part of our mission, and particularly as an academic institution.
Dr. Broderick's predecessor, Dr. John Tu, who had been in the role for 15 years, will assume new roles at the UC College of Medicine and UC Health. Broderick will also take the lead on a national center at UC for a new clinical trials network created by the National Institutes of Neurological Disorders and Stroke. UC has been awarded a grant of more than $7 million to take on this new role. The institute is part of the National Institutes of Health. UC also has been awarded a grant of more than $1 million to become one of 25 regional stroke centers for what will be known as the NIH Stroke Trials Network. It is intended to streamline research on strokes which occur when a blood vessel in the brain bursts or a clot blocks the blood supply. Well, Hamilton County Commissioner Todd Portune announced last week that he plans to run for governor of Ohio, but he left open the possibility that his campaign to be the Democratic nominee may be short-lived. Portune enters the race even though Cuyahoga County Executive Ed Fitzgerald has been running for 4 months and was thought to be the state Democrats' leading candidate to defeat Republican Governor John Kasich.
I think you can have a positive discussion about the issues because, after all, it is a family discussion. It's not adversarial. You don't need to go negative. We can approach a primary in a much different way as Democrats so that when it's over, you bring the party together and the party rallies behind the successful candidate.
Portune said for the last 10 days he's been on a whirlwind tour of Ohio, both by phone and in person, and he says it's clear Democrats want to have a choice in the primary on May 6th. The transportation departments for Kentucky and Ohio have submitted the initial plan to fund a new Brent Spence bridge, which includes tolls. The plan was submitted to the Federal Highway Administration. It outlines how Kentucky and Ohio might finance this new bridge. It also explains why it will require tolls. According to the plan, it will cost $2.63 billion for the new bridge. The states propose a public-private partnership to build, operate, and maintain the bridge. The report suggests construction should begin in 2016 and run through about 2020, but does not say how long drivers would be tolled or how much the toll would actually be. Work on Cincinnati's streetcar restarted the day after Christmas, and it's continuing to move along. Crews were working on Elm Street as 2 loads of streetcar rails were moved from trucks to the street level just north of Finley Street. Installation of the rails along with construction of wood forms and work on the power and water lines is now underway. Some supporters who rallied to convince City Council to move forward with the project say what we experienced here is not unusual for streetcar projects.
Not every city, but most cities go through what Cincinnati's just been through until the day it opens. And then the question is, okay, now how can we expand the system?
The first streetcar is scheduled to roll over these tracks in the fall of 2016. Well, in the serious battle of the pop wars, the Frisch's restaurant chain is switching sides. It's going from Coke to Pepsi, and the flip-flop has a lot of customers up in arms. On social media, several customers say the move will mean no more Big Boys or strawberry pie in their future. The company's vice president says both products are good, but choices have to be made.
It does not taste the same, but it is still good. It is flavored Pepsi or it is flavored Coke, and they don't taste the same, but they're both good products.
It reportedly all comes down to a better deal from Pepsi. The big switch will take effect at all Frisch's restaurants by the end of January. But we understand that good crunchy ice they have will still be served up at Frisch's Big Boy. And up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch, more new business activity to report at the airport. And the Old River Downs is now hiring. Here's some news you may have missed if you're not reading the Business Courier online every day or following us on Twitter and Facebook. Cincinnati manufacturer Meyer Tool Company is moving its corporate aircraft fleet to the Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International Airport. The move was prompted by the elimination of the property tax on non-commercial aircraft in Boone County. The 2 jets, which previously were housed at Lunken Airport, bring with it 8 full-time jobs to CVG. Northern Kentucky Triad worked with the taxing jurisdictions in Boone County to eliminate the tax on non-commercial aircraft in Boone County. Fifth Third should be the best banking stock in America next year, according to one prominent investment research firm. Fifth Third is Cincinnati's largest locally based bank and one of the nation's 20 largest. It is one of 20 stocks on Jefferies & Company's franchise picks, and it's the only bank stock on the list. Jefferies said Fifth Third trades at 10.7 times its estimate for next year's earnings, a valuation multiple that's one notch below the average regional bank. Starting tomorrow, Belterra Park and Gaming and Entertainment Center, which used to be River Downs, will begin hiring to fill 700 new jobs. The positions include a variety of needs, from food and beverage workers to gambling teams. The hiring center will be open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday, or you can visit the website belterrapark.com. The Party Source will become an employee-owned company. Ken Lewis, founder of the Party Source, is creating an employee stock ownership plan. It will not change the day-to-day operations of that store in Bellevue. Lewis said selling it to his employees is the ultimate way to keep this company moving forward, even as he turns his attention to the new businesses on the Party Source campus. The Party Source has 51 full-time employees, 18 part-time employees. They will share in the ownership plan. Be sure to check out our website for Business Courier cartoonist Joe Hoffecker's look back at 2013, the local elections, the rollout of Obamacare. The Cincinnati Streetcar project gave Joe a lot of material to work with this year. Well, with the holidays behind us now, it's a good time to delve into the mind of the U.S. consumer, namely you and me. The consumer plays a vitally important role in the U.S. economy and the jobs outlook. So how are these trends tracking, and what do they suggest about the outlook for 2014? For some insight, we turn to our own Jim Russell, U.S. Bank senior equity strategist, to get his perspective. Jim, Happy New Year.
Same to you.
So we as consumers spend money in a lot of ways. How would you best categorize this spending?
Well, consumer spending is probably in the broadest sense really categorized in terms of personal consumption. Now, there's a couple of different ways to look at this. Personal consumption really captures the full array of everything that we spend money on. Now, the trends here are pretty good, Brian, and that is we increased 0.5% from November over October. That is the 7th consecutive increase in personal consumption that we've seen in 2013. We, of course, hope that this extends into 2014 as well. Now, importantly, this is a number that is for both goods and services. Retail sales oftentimes grabs the headlines around holiday season. How many sweaters are people buying? Hats, gloves, boots. In your case, maybe a bass boat or something.
No, slippers.
No bass boat this year. And so, importantly, though, the service component of the consumer spending is starting to actually almost eclipse good spending. I'm talking about health care, I'm talking about housing, that sort of thing. And consumer spending does represent 2/3 of GDP in this country. It matters very much, not only what the consumer feels, but what the consumer is doing.
What do you say then are the factors that are driving these spending patterns?
There are several things that really come into play. The key one that we see the most correlation is consumer income. Now, that is best maybe tracked by something called the real disposable income. Real disposable income for you and I is after tax, after inflation income, what we have left over to actually spend. And so what you can see here from the chart is that consumer spending tracks our ability to spend money, and that is real disposable income. The two spikes that you see, by the way, are tax decreases by both President Bush and President Obama at the payroll level. So you can see that that does jostle around real disposable income on occasion.
So what do you think the mood of the consumer is now as we go into this new year of 2014?
It's an interesting question, Brian, and it's one that's very important for the outlook for jobs and the growth rate for the United States in 2014. We think the mood of the consumer is primarily pretty good. We think that we're seeing very strong trends in auto sales and home sales. And that's important because consumers generally do not buy big purchases like that unless they're confident that they A, have a job, and B, that they're going to be able to keep that job. So the confidence level is very important there. Online sales really showed very strong spending patterns the holiday season, up 9.4% this year. Retail sales in general are up about 3% or so, but online really carried the day. And the consumer confidence trends recently reported are very good. And so that's reported by the University of Michigan. Lower interest rates, lower gasoline prices, lower unemployment, higher home prices, higher stock prices all feed into that. So we think that perhaps there's something to look forward to in terms of increased consumer spending as we move through the year.
Pretty solid start. We look forward to another good year with you, Jim, and U.S. Bank. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Still to come on U.S. Bank Business Watch this morning, a big change coming here to the Cincinnati Art Museum. A conversation with the current director, Aaron Betsky, is next. And congratulations to Mike Sipple, Vice President of Centennial Inc., another of our 40 Under 40 honorees. In this morning's Business Insight, Aaron Betsky announced late last week that he's stepping down as director of the Cincinnati Art Museum after 7 years in that role. He'll leave when the board appoints a new director. Under Betsky's tenure, the Art Museum has increased attendance and the endowment. What he plans to do next remains to be seen. Aaron Betsky joins U.S. Bank Business Watch producer Kelly Leon in the studio. Aaron and Kelly.
Thank you, Brian. Aaron, so nice to have you here.
Thank you, Kelly. Glad to be here.
I was disappointed to hear the news.
Well, thank you. I've been here for a good long time, more than 7 years, and we've managed to do a lot at the Art Museum. We've set up a lot of other good things. We have a big new renovation coming up. We're going to renovate the lobby and the cafe. It seemed like a good time to let someone else take over.
And can you talk a little bit about your thought process? Last week, actually, we had Julie Balke on, who's a career expert, and she talked about taking risks in your career to you know, kind of keep you moving forward and excited. Was that part of it? Was this just the time for a risk for you?
Well, Kelly, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do in the future. I do know that in Europe, there's actually kind of a rule that you can't stay in a cultural position for more than 5 years for a lot of state organizations. So I've been here a little bit longer than that. But it certainly seemed like a good time to let the Art Museum have some new leadership and tackle some of the problems in the future, and for me to also figure out what my next challenges and opportunities are going to be.
So in terms of accomplishments as you leave, as you look back, what would you say are your best accomplishments?
Well, Kelly, I'm leaving the Art Museum in really good shape, I think. We have a lot of things still to work on, but our endowment is up by almost 18%, and our attendance is up. We've increased the collection with some beautiful pieces like the new George O'Keeffe and the wonderful Hodges family, which we just put on display. We've renovated a lot of the galleries, and we've just done a lot to bring people and art together, which is, after all, the mission of the Art Museum, and I really want to make sure that we focused on that. And I think we've done that. And we also have a wonderful slate of new exhibitions coming up. We're going to have 16,000 more square feet of exhibitions and education space by the end of this year. We're, as I said, renovating the lobby. We have a wonderful partnership with Macy's and dunnhumby that's allowing us to do that. So what we're really doing is making sure that this great treasure of Cincinnati, the visual anchor for the city, is really prepared and ready to fulfill its mission in an even better way. A lot more to do, but we've done a huge amount in the last 7 years.
And are you going to be involved with picking the person who comes in after you?
Well, I doubt that I'm actually going to pick the person, but certainly I will be in my position, and if anyone has any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them.
Will this be an enticing position for people out in the art community? Would they want to come to Cincinnati?
Well, I would think so, Kelly. It is, after all, the oldest art museum west of the Alleghenies. We have by far the largest collection in this whole region. And as I said, we're on the path to do a lot of great work. And we set out a vision master plan which goes back to the beginning of this millennium, actually. And we're now well on the way to using every square inch of that beautiful old building and eventually even expanding it.
For the person who coming into Cincinnati, is there any advice you would give them in terms of the city or recommendations? What did you love about the city and what did you learn about the city?
Learn to love your chili, which I do, and root for the Bengals, which of course I'm doing.
Especially today, yes.
Trying to figure out whether I'm going to really go be chilly on Sunday or not. But no, I think that one of the things you have to realize is that this community has wonderful cultural treasures. and we need to cherish them, but we also need to build on them. And figuring out how to do that even more will be, I think, the job for my successor.
Mm-hmm. Have you found this to be a generous community in terms of the arts?
Well, there certainly are very, very generous patrons to the Art Museum, and we also have had found very, very generous and open people that we've become good friends with. So it certainly has been a very generous place.
Great. Well, we will miss you. And we wish you well. Will you give us any hint about what you might be doing? What are you thinking?
Well, Kelly, I don't know. I know that I'm teaching at the University of Cincinnati this spring, which I've also done in the past. I have one book that's coming out this fall and a few others in the hopper. So I kind of secretly hope that something doesn't come right away so I can actually finish some of these books and get these things done.
That's very nice. Nice position to be in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to you. Thank you for all that you've done. And we'll look forward to hearing what's next for Aaron Betsky.
Thank you very much, Kelly.
Thank you. Brian, back to you.
All right, Kelly, certainly the Art Museum, one of our great cultural treasures. Aaron, thank you for your contributions, and best to you in 2014. And thank you for joining us this morning for U.S. Bank Business Watch. We'll be back next Sunday, every Sunday morning, 6:30 right here on Local 12, 10 a.m. on the CW. For more business news during the week, you can visit our Business Courier online and sign up for our daily emails. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook as well. The address is CincinnatiBusinessCourier.com. For all of us here on U.S. Bank Business Watch, I'm Brian Patrick. Have a great Sunday, a good week. Go Bengals!